welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I'm great.
Good, good. Well, I am so excited to have you here. The listener may not know this, but you've been my chiropractor now for a good long while. We've known each other as I've grown my business, you've grown your business. This is something that I haven't really brought to our listener audience, which is some of the ways that I support myself personally in my body, my mind, my soul, my spirit, all of the pieces to become the best version of myself that I can be so that I can build the best business that I can and have the impact that I want to have. And network chiropractic is a huge part of that. And so that's why I'm excited to dive in with you today. But first, before we dive into what network chiropractic is, I'd love to hear a little bit about what led you down this path in the first place.
So I ended up in this work as a child. I was 14 years old, and my mom was always somebody who went to chiropractors. So chiropractic was part of our family healthcare system when I was a kid. But when I was 14 years old, I was in a really bad car accident. My brother and I flipped a car coming home from a concert. And I had a pretty severe neck injury that I knew getting adjusted would help, but I didn't want the force. I didn't want that structural force. And so my mom took me to someone who did what I do, which is called network spinal analysis, because it's very gentle. That's the reason why she chose that. But the work is really designed about helping people navigate change and how it is that the nervous system moves through change. And so I was going as a 14-year-old. I loved the care. It was definitely helped me with that urgent discomfort of my neck pain. But what was so impactful for me was watching my dad. So my dad was the one who was bringing me to the chiropractor regularly. And she said, Tim, I'll take care of you too. Get on the table. And he said, this isn't doing anything. You're just poking me in the butt, because he's very light contact. So he's like, this isn't doing anything. My back still hurts. But over the course of the next 9 months, I watched my dad just wake up and come alive and start to take care of himself and take care of his body, start to run and exercise. And it's like some part of him that had been on pause or in a deep slumber since his childhood just woke up and came to life. And that was really inspiring. And then I continued with network care when I was 18, when I moved to California from the East Coast, and had more of that experience for myself of waking up to who I am and what I want, and being able to use my body as a barometer for how I'm doing and a feedback system to make decisions, and to know when I'm in alignment with myself and when I'm making a decision that feels like it's true for me and it's going to take me in a direction that has more energy and more progress around change. And so I knew at 19 through this work that this is what I wanted to do, and went to chiropractic school, and here I am. So I've been in practice 16 years.
That's something that I haven't really come to understand until very recently. And I've been in chiropractic care now for, I think, about 5 years, since pre-COVID in 2019. I went actually for the first time because a friend of mine who also had been in a car accident had started going to this chiropractor. And she was like, this is different from any chiropractic care I've ever received. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, okay, picture this. You go in, there's like multiple tables, and there's different people lying down on the tables. And then the chiropractor comes around but they touch you really lightly. There's no cracking, there's no popping. And then people are like making noises, people are crying. And I'm like, what in the world? I'm like, it sounds like nothing I've ever heard of before. Please sign me up. I always love to experience new things.
What made you say, please sign me up? What was that?
I always love to, whenever there's something new that I've never experienced before, then I'm like, oh, I'm going to try that. I want to see what that's about. And so I decided to go. And it was, first of all, in my vision of it, when she said, picture 3 people lying face down on a table, for whatever reason, I pictured a very dark room. I thought it was going to be like very tight, close quarters. And I walked in and it was this light, beautiful space, light streaming in, music going, and you could just feel the energy of the place before you even got on the table. But for a long time, I kept going. I didn't really quite know what was going on. I didn't, I hadn't put two and two together that the mind and the body were really connected. I was just like, well, I'm going for my body. My mind's fine. I'm going for my body. And I didn't have any aches and pains specifically, but I was just like, she said to try it, so I'm going to try it for a period of time. And I kept going for a little while. And it's almost like what you described with your father. I didn't expect these life changes to happen, but these things started to unfold in my life. And I started at the time, we were growing our business like crazy. And without this work, I don't know if I would have had the capacity. It's almost like my metaphorical spine, it made it all spongy and flowy rather than all rigid and tight so that I could bend and flow with all the changes that were happening in the business.
Yes. And your nervous system, which of course is your brain and your spinal cord and your network of nerves, but your spine determines the bandwidth of energy and information you can process. So if your nervous system can either be in defense, bracing against change, or adapting, growing, learning, healing, changing, all synonyms at a nervous system level. So when your nervous system is more in defense, or it's got more patterns, the protective patterns running, we are tighter. So we're less flexible. So I'm going to do this to my body. Might be a little bit more like this, closer to a fetal position, head forward, shoulders tight, shoulders rounded, stomach tight, not breathing, not moving. If that's the case in our spine or areas of our spine, the amount of energy and information that you can process is more narrow. One of the things I describe to people is when you've had some network care, especially over a course of time, like maybe 3 to 5 months, it's like upgrading your operating system. It's like going from dial-up connection to try to run your life on to having broadband. Your capacity, it grows. And this is a kind of a wild idea for most people. Like, what do you mean my spine changes and my business grows? But when you understand that the nervous system is related to how much information you can process and with what efficiency, how effective your emotional kind of agility in response to ups and downs and challenges and conflicts and changes.
For the listener who's like, I can't picture this, I don't understand what this means. So most people know what traditional chiropractic is, with some like cracking and, like the twisting and the popping and all that. Take us from there and then paint a picture of what you do. Is it related? Is it not? How does it differ from traditional chiropractic?
So network is absolutely a chiropractic technique. It's really different than traditional chiropractic in the most obvious way is that I don't move bones. So I don't manipulate the spine. And the reason why is actually more interesting. And that is the doctor who developed this technique was asking a very specific thesis question in the development of the technique, which is where can I put the least amount of force into the nervous system that results in the greatest amount of nonlinear change? This was his thesis question. So not how do I find what's wrong and fix it, which is how most healthcare looks at the body, not diagnose a condition and treat it, but how do I interact with the nervous system in a way that enhances self-awareness, self-regulation, repatterning, growth, evolution, change. And so I had him look at what was really well established in the field of chiropractic at the time. This is in the 1980s, as well as what we understood about the nervous system and physiology differently and for a different purpose and outcome. And then he also found that there's a relationship between spinal cord tension, adverse mechanical cord tension, and the stress response. So when you become stressed for a physical reason, a chemical reason, like something you ate or exposed to, or an emotional reason or life stress of any kind, your spinal cord tightens. So the envelope around the brain and the spinal cord tightens, just like a muscle will tighten or our connective tissue tightens. And the body does this on purpose to mute what you feel inside. It's like turning the volume down on all the immense amount of information that's happening in the body so that we become hyper-focused and hyper-vigilant on our external environment. Great for running for your life, for saving your life. So the spinal gateway is this little spot of ease right where that spinal cord tension is coming from. It's a place that when I contact that spot, the frontal cortex of the brain can perceive what's happening there. So it's essentially like saying, hey, pay attention here to the most, responsive part of the brain about an area of the body that's being governed by the lower brain centers and is in a feedback loop of disconnection and defense. So when I touch that spot, people's breath starts to open up, the body starts to unwind, muscle tension drops. I describe it when you haven't felt it. If you imagine your hands in a fist and you didn't know it, and someone pointed out to you, like, why's your hand in a fist? And you looked at it and went, oh, I didn't realize I was doing that. And you could just release your fist as soon as you had the or no, I'm holding on to something here. That's why my hand is closed. But point being, you can make a decision in that moment of, do I need to be holding like this? So as we start to work with somebody, and I usually work with people for a course of care, 12 visits or 24 visits, kind of depending on what they're coming in with. Over the course of those 12 to 24 visits, your nervous system again and again is discovering all these ways in which it's holding. So I like to say network's a little bit like therapy for your body.
All right. Last question then is about life and money in the world. So Aiden, what's one thing that you're doing to help make the world a better place, however you choose to interpret that question?
Yeah. I'm really helping people come alive. My favorite quote is Howard Thurman, don't ask what the world needs, but ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs is more people who've come alive. And so that's really, I think, sums up my mission and what I'm doing. So with each interaction I have, both in the office and outside of the office, is sharing myself in a way that is as alive and present as I can be, and seeing people that way, and supporting them to reconnect and rediscover that within themselves.
Well, it's a beautiful thing. And I can definitely speak to the feeling of coming into your office. And during that time I'm on the table, I feel like you're rooting for me to come alive. And I sense that on the table, whatever you're doing, whatever magic you're working, I'm like, okay, for this time, I know that it's not just me, but Aiden's here rooting for me, and she's helping me help my body to come alive. And so it definitely comes across in all that you do. Well, Aiden, I know we've only covered you are like an encyclopedia. You know so much. You've read so many books. I know people are going to want to dig in and learn more, whether they're based here in San Francisco or not, and they want to find somebody in their own home space. Tell them, if they did want to get in touch with you or learn more about your practice, what's the best place that they can go?
Oh, so first stop would be my website, which is vervewellnessstudio.com. And on the website, there's a link to book a call. You can book a free consult with me. And I would encourage anybody, even if you're not local and you heard this and you have questions, book a call with me. I'd love to talk about this stuff. I'd love to share the resources that I have. I can help to see if I can connect you with somebody in your area who does this work. The other way is Instagram, which we're also Verve Wellness Studio on Instagram. And we've got some posts and some content there, and you can follow us to just stay in touch.
Fantastic. Aiden Kinsella, network spinal chiropractor and founder of Verve Wellness Studio in San Francisco. Aiden, thank you so much for being here with us and diving into these incredible topics with us.
Thank you so much for having me. So fun.